Nobody told you that you were carrying too much. They just kept handing you things, and you took them because that's what you did. That's what you were. The one who could handle it. The one who didn't make it worse. The one who held it together when everything else was falling apart. You were a child, but no one treated you like one. And the strange thing is, you probably didn't even realize it was happening. Because when you grow up fast, you don't get a moment where someone sits you down and says, your childhood is ending now. It just quietly disappears, replaced by responsibility, by awareness, by a kind of heaviness that kids your age weren't carrying yet. You learned to read the room before you learned to read people properly. You knew when a parent was in a bad mood from the sound of their footsteps. You knew which version of the evening was coming before anyone said a word. That's not a skill children are supposed to have. That's a survival response. And it followed you here. The first thing that happens when a child is forced to be strong is that they become an expert at other people's emotions and a stranger to their own. Think about it. When you're young and the environment around you is unpredictable, a parent struggling, a home full of tension, a family that needed managing, you learn very quickly that your job is to monitor, to track, to anticipate. Your nervous system becomes a finely tuned instrument pointed entirely outward. How is she feeling right now? Is he about to lose it? What does the silence mean tonight? You got so good at reading everyone else that you never learned to read yourself. So now, as an adult, you can walk into a room and sense tension that no one else has noticed yet. You can tell when a friend is off before they've said anything. You are remarkably attuned to the people around you. But ask you how you're feeling, and you go quiet. Not because you're hiding something, because you genuinely don't always know. That muscle was never developed. You were too busy using your attention somewhere else. The second thing that happens is that asking for help starts to feel like a character flaw, because you never saw it modeled safely. Maybe asking for help in your house meant burdening someone who was already drowning. Maybe it meant being dismissed. Maybe it meant being the reason things got harder. So you learned, quickly, quietly, that needs were dangerous, that needing things made you a problem, and so you stopped showing them. You became self-sufficient in ways that look impressive from the outside. You figure things out alone. You don't complain. You push through. You handle it. And everyone around you thinks you're incredibly capable, strong, low maintenance. What they don't see is that you're not doing it from strength. You're doing it from an old fear. The fear that if you need something, you'll become too much, that people will leave, that you'll be seen as weak in the one way that felt most dangerous when you were small. Asking for help still feels, somewhere deep down, like a risk you're not sure you can afford. The third thing is that you became the caretaker, and you never really stopped. Maybe it was a parent you emotionally supported through their own pain. Maybe it was younger siblings you looked after. Maybe it was just the general atmosphere of the home, fragile enough that you learned to move carefully through it, managing moods, smoothing things over, making yourself smaller so there was more room for everyone else's chaos. Psychologists call this parentification. The child becomes the emotional caretaker of the adult. The roles quietly reverse. And what that does, what it really does, is teach you that love is something you earn through usefulness, that your value in a relationship is tied to what you can provide, how much you can give, how little you need in return. So now, your relationships have a shape you didn't consciously choose. You're the reliable one, the one people call when things fall apart, the one who shows up, always. And you want to be that person. Part of you genuinely does. But there's another part, quieter, more tired, that wonders what it would feel like to be the one someone else shows up for, completely, without you having to manage how that feels for them. The fourth thing is that rest feels wrong, not just uncomfortable, wrong, guilty, like you're getting away with something you haven't earned yet. Because when you grew up in an environment that required constant readiness, your nervous system never learned that stillness was safe. Rest wasn't something that happened in your house, or if it did, it was fragile. It could be broken at any moment. So you stayed ready, and you're still ready right now. even when there's nothing to be ready for. This is why you're productive to the point of exhaustion, why you feel vaguely anxious on slow days, why vacation doesn't fully relax you. You're waiting for something to go wrong, for something to need handling, for someone to need you. Your body learned that being needed meant being safe, and so being still, being unproductive, having nothing urgent to attend to, it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like a threat you can't quite name. The fifth thing, and maybe the heaviest, is that you grieve a childhood you can barely remember losing. This one is strange to sit with, because you might look back and say, it wasn't that bad. Other people had it worse. I turned out fine. And all of that can be true, and it can also be true that something was taken from you. Not dramatically, not at all once, just quietly, incrementally. The lightness, the carefreeness, the permission to just be a kid without the weight of everything else pressing down. You didn't get to be irresponsible, messy, silly in the way children are supposed to be silly. You were already managing something, and that loss is real, even if no one named it, even if you never cried about it, even if you're not sure you have the right to call it a loss at all. You do. Here's what I want you to hear now. The strength you built was real. It got you here. It helped you survive things that would have broken other people. That's not nothing. That matters. But surviving isn't the same as living. And the work, the quiet, uncomfortable, worthwhile work, is learning to put down what was never yours to carry in the first place. It looks like learning to feel your own feelings instead of immediately managing everyone else's. It looks like letting someone help you without it feeling like weakness or debt. It looks like resting without earning it first. It looks like letting yourself be a little lost sometimes, a little unproductive, a little needy, without treating that as evidence that something is wrong with you. You spent years being strong for everyone else. You're allowed to be human for yourself. That's not weakness. That's the bravest thing you could do.